Did you know that over 1.4 million people could lose their right to stay in the UK by 2026, even if they've been living here legally for years? That's not a wild guess. It's based on real policy changes already being rolled out by the UK government. From students and skilled workers to families and long-term residents, no group is entirely safe. And with 2026 just around the corner, time is running out to prepare. In this video, we're uncovering 10 shocking new immigration rules that could force millions to leave, even those who came here through legal routes, who pay taxes, work hard, and follow every law. Some of these rules are already active, while others are set to quietly kick in within the next 12 to 18 months. And trust us, the government isn't shouting about them. So if you or someone you know is on a visa, applying for settlement, or dreaming of UK citizenship, you need to watch this till the end. Because what you don't know about these changes could cost you everything. Your home, your job, even your future in the UK. Number 1. Salary threshold shock. The UK government is planning to raise the minimum salary requirement for skilled worker visas once again. And this one change alone could push out hundreds of thousands of legal migrants by 2026. Currently, most applicants need to show a salary of £26,200 to qualify for a skilled worker visa. But according to leaked policy discussions and recent Home Office consultations, this threshold may rise to over £30,000, possibly more, depending on the occupation. That means if your job doesn't meet the new salary mark, your visa could be rejected at renewal or application stage, no matter how long you've lived or worked here. This policy change hits essential workers the hardest, especially in sectors like healthcare, social care, hospitality, education, and tech support, where salaries often fall just below the line. Nurses, care workers, junior developers, and even teaching assistants who are currently welcome under the current rules may suddenly find themselves ineligible to stay. What's worse, many of these workers were brought in to fill critical shortages during the pandemic and post-Brexit labor gap. Now, they're being priced out of the country they helped support. For thousands of families, this isn't just a technical change, it's a ticking time bomb. Imagine working in the UK for years, building a life, paying taxes, only to be told your job doesn't earn enough for you to stay. Employers may not be able or willing to raise salaries just to meet visa rules. And without meeting that threshold, no renewal, no extension, just a countdown to leaving. The question many are now asking is simple. Is the UK quietly shutting its doors on the very people who helped it survive its toughest years? Number 2. Time limit trap. One of the most alarming rule changes expected by 2026 is the introduction of a strict 5-year cap on temporary work visas, such as those issued under the Seasonal Worker Scheme and other short-term labor routes. While these visas were originally designed for temporary employment in sectors like agriculture, logistics, and hospitality, many workers have stayed in the UK year after year, filling vital roles that often go unnoticed. But under the new policy, once a migrant hits the 5-year limit, they will be forced to leave the UK, with no path to settlement or extension, regardless of their contributions. This rule is especially harsh because it creates a revolving door system, bringing in workers when needed, then discarding them once they've served their short-term purpose. There is no option to apply for indefinite leave to remain or transition into another visa unless they qualify for an entirely different route, which most won't. Even those who have integrated into their communities, formed relationships, or taken on additional roles in their workplaces will face the same outcome. Pack up and go. And what's even more concerning is the lack of public awareness. Many migrants don't even know this cap is coming until it's too late. For employers and industries relying heavily on migrant labor, this could lead to staff shortages and economic disruption. But for the migrants themselves, it's far more personal. After 5 years of hard work, living in often harsh conditions, and sending money back home, they'll face mandatory exit orders without a chance to stay. It's a silent policy shift with massive human consequences, and many fear it's a move toward making the UK immigration system more disposable, where people are welcome only as long as they're convenient. Number 3. Family visa barriers. For thousands of families hoping to reunite or stay together in the UK, 2026 could bring devastating news. The government is planning to raise the income requirement for sponsoring a spouse or partner under the family visa route. Currently, the threshold stands at £18,600 for the main applicant. But proposals suggest this could rise to £29,000 or even higher, pushing it well beyond what many full-time workers earn, especially those in part-time jobs, single-income households, or lower-paying sectors like retail and caregiving. This change doesn't just impact new applicants. Even families who've been together for years could be affected when it's time to renew or extend their visas. And the rules are becoming stricter in other ways too. Applicants may be required to provide more detailed evidence of their relationship, undergo tougher English language tests, and meet new housing and documentation standards. For people with children, this could mean one parent being forced to leave, or worse, entire families being split across countries. The emotional and psychological toll of these separations is massive, yet rarely discussed in political debates. What's especially cruel is how these changes target the most vulnerable families, including those who've already made the UK their home. It sends a clear message: unless you earn a certain amount or tick every bureaucratic box, your family doesn't belong here. For those who have lived legally, contributed to society, and raised children in the UK, the idea of being separated due to an income gap feels not just unfair, but deeply inhumane. As these new rules loom closer, countless couples and families now face an uncertain future, with no clear answers and little hope, all because love and family are being measured in pounds, not people. Number 4. Student Visa Crackdown. International students have long seen the UK as a top destination for higher education, but that dream is becoming harder to reach and even harder to hold on to. Starting in 2024, dependents of most international students have already been banned from entering the UK. But by 2026, the government is expected to take things even further, with new restrictions on post-study work rights, tighter university sponsorship rules, and shortened graduate visa durations. These measures could make it nearly impossible for many students to stay and build a life after graduation, even if they have the skills the UK needs. One of the biggest concerns is the likely reduction of the graduate route visa from 2 years to possibly 1 year or less. That's barely enough time to find stable employment, meet sponsorship requirements, or gain experience in the job market. For students who came with the hope of eventually settling, this means spending tens of thousands of pounds on education, only to be shown the exit door the moment their degree is done. On top of that, universities will face more pressure to police their students, leading to increased visa refusals for minor issues like low attendance or admin delays, issues that often aren't even the student's fault. This isn't just a policy change, it's a major shift in how the UK treats international talent. While other countries like Canada and Australia are opening their doors wider to global graduates, the UK appears to be slamming them shut. Many students are now questioning whether it's worth coming at all. And for those already studying here, 2026 could mean a sudden end to their plans, dreams, and investments, simply because the rules changed midway through their journey. Number 5. Delayed citizenship. For many immigrants, gaining British citizenship is the final step in a long and often challenging journey. But by 2026, that final step may become even harder to reach. The UK government is considering a proposal to extend the required residency period for naturalisation from 5 years to 6 years. On the surface, 1 extra year might not seem like much, but in reality, it creates a longer period of uncertainty, delays in securing full rights, and an increased risk of falling into legal trouble during the wait. This change affects not just individuals waiting for citizenship, but entire families planning their future in the UK. It delays the ability to vote, access certain jobs, or travel freely without immigration restrictions. It also adds more cost, with visa renewals, health surcharges, and legal fees stacking up year after year. For people already contributing to the economy, paying taxes, and following the rules, this feels like moving the goalpost just as they're about to score. And if you miss even one small requirement during this extended period, like absences from the country or paperwork errors, your entire application could be denied. More importantly, this policy signals a shift away from integration and towards exclusion. It sends a message that even long-term residents, no matter how committed they are, must keep proving themselves. For many, it means living in limbo for yet another year, with no guarantee of success at the end. And if other rules tighten at the same time, such as higher language test levels or stricter background checks, even more people will find themselves stuck just short of citizenship, watching their hopes fade as policies change around them. Before we continue, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Which of these rules do you think is the most unfair so far? Drop your opinion in the comments. We actually read every single one. And if you appreciate the deep research behind this video, please support us by subscribing. It's just one click, but it helps us keep going. Number 6. Language test hurdle. One of the less talked about but potentially devastating changes coming by 2026 is the planned increase in English language test requirements for migrants applying for settlement or citizenship. Currently, most applicants need to pass a B1 level test, which demonstrates intermediate English. But under new proposals, this could be raised to B2 level, a significantly higher standard that demands more advanced speaking, listening, reading, and writing skills. For many migrants, especially those who are older or from non-English speaking backgrounds, this one change alone could block their path to staying in the UK permanently. This isn't just about taking a harder test. It's about accessibility, affordability, and fairness. Many migrants work full-time jobs, care for children, and may not have the time or resources to prepare for a tougher language exam. Some have already taken and passed the current test, only to now be told that they'll need to do it all over again at a higher level. For those who struggle with formal education or test anxiety, this can feel like an impossible barrier. And without passing the required test, they cannot settle, renew their visa, or apply for citizenship, even if they've lived in the UK for years. What makes this change especially painful is that it seems to punish people who are already integrated into society. Many of these individuals are working, raising children who speak perfect English, and actively contributing to their communities. Yet a formal language barrier could shut the door on their future, simply because they can't reach an academic benchmark. While improving language skills is important, making it a legal requirement for staying in the country risks turning language into a tool of exclusion, one that could silence thousands of lives and stories. Number 7. Low contribution deportation. One of the most controversial and alarming proposals expected to take shape by 2026 is a new policy aimed at deporting migrants deemed to be making a low economic contribution. This term is dangerously vague, but early reports suggest it would apply to those who are unemployed, receiving public benefits, or earning below a certain income threshold, even if they hold a valid visa. In other words, your legal status in the UK might no longer be enough to protect you if the government decides your contribution doesn't measure up. This kind of rule raises serious ethical and legal questions. What happens to migrants who lose their jobs due to layoffs, illness, or caregiving responsibilities? Are they now at risk of being deported simply for going through a hard time? Many migrants take on roles that are essential but underpaid, such as cleaners, care workers, or delivery drivers, roles that kept the country running during crises. Now, those same people could be labeled as low contributors and removed, regardless of their long-term residency or personal circumstances. The potential for misuse and discrimination is enormous. It opens the door for selective enforcement and disproportionate targeting of vulnerable groups. Migrants who have lived peacefully in the UK for years may suddenly find themselves being assessed not as people, but as economic units. This approach strips away dignity and humanity, replacing it with cold calculations. For countless individuals and families, it creates a climate of fear and insecurity, constantly worried that a job loss or drop in income could turn their entire life upside down. And the scariest part, it's already being quietly discussed as part of the UK's future immigration strategy, with very little public debate. Number 8. Rising healthcare costs. One of the most financially punishing changes coming from migrants in the UK is the continued rise of the Immigration Health Surcharge, HS, a mandatory fee that migrants must pay to access the National Health Service, NHS. This fee has already seen sharp increases in recent years, and by 2026, it's expected to rise even further, with proposals suggesting an annual charge of over £1,500 per adult and more than £1,000 per child. For a family of 4, that could mean paying upwards of £5,000 a year just to access basic healthcare, something UK citizens get for free. What's more concerning is the growing discussion around mandatory private health insurance for certain visa categories. This would mean migrants not only pay the IHS but may also be forced to buy private insurance plans to remain eligible for their visas. For many, especially those on lower incomes or with dependents, these mounting healthcare costs are becoming unbearable. It's not just about money. It's about access, security, and survival. If you can't afford the IHS or private insurance, you risk losing your legal status. That's a brutal reality facing many hard-working families across the country. These rising costs paint a picture where healthcare becomes a privilege, not a right, for migrants. People who have lived in the UK for years, who work in NHS hospitals or care homes, are being priced out of the very system they support. The pressure is growing, and for some, it's a choice between renewing a visa or putting food on the table. As we approach 2026, this policy shift is quietly turning the UK into one of the most expensive countries in the world for migrants to access basic health services, and many won't be able to keep up. Number 9. Shorter renewal deadlines. By 2026, another silent but highly impactful change in the UK immigration system will be the introduction of stricter and shorter visa renewal deadlines. Currently, many visa holders are given a reasonable window to prepare and submit their renewal applications. But under proposed policy shifts, these windows may become narrower and far less forgiving, giving migrants limited time to act, sometimes just 28 days or less. Miss that deadline by even a few days, and you could be considered an overstayer, immediately losing your legal rights and facing possible removal. This policy is especially harsh for those dealing with unexpected life events, job loss, illness, delays in documentation, or even system errors. Under the new rules, no flexibility will be granted, even in genuine situations. For example, if your employer delays providing a sponsorship certificate or your biometric appointment gets pushed back, you could still fall out of status. And once that happens, the consequences are severe: loss of work rights, bank account closures, and even automatic bans on re-entry. All for missing a deadline most people don't even know has changed. What makes this even more dangerous is that many migrants rely on solicitors or advisors who may not always inform them quickly enough. Others try to manage their applications alone and might struggle with the new, more complex rules. With renewal deadlines becoming tighter, even a simple delay can destroy years of hard work, stability, and progress. Instead of support and fairness, the system is moving toward punishment and penalties, even for honest mistakes. For thousands living legally in the UK, this one rule could quietly become the reason they're forced to leave, not because they broke the law, but because they couldn't beat the clock. Number 10. Exit checks and biometric surveillance. By 2026, the UK is expected to fully roll out its enhanced exit check system, combined with biometric tracking at all major ports and airports. While this might sound like a routine upgrade in border security, the implications for migrants are far-reaching. The government plans to link every individual's entry and exit data with their immigration records in real time. That means even a one-day overstay, whether intentional or not, could be instantly flagged, triggering penalties like re-entry bans, visa refusals, or immediate enforcement action. The age of leniency is coming to an end. Currently, many migrants are unaware that overstaying, even due to delays, miscommunication, or last-minute emergencies, can lead to serious consequences. But under this new system, there will be no room for error. The biometric data, including fingerprints, facial scans, and digital signatures, will allow authorities to track, monitor, and assess every movement in and out of the UK. This system aims to eliminate gray areas and automate enforcement, but in doing so, it also removes human understanding, compassion, and discretion from the process. This shift represents more than just a technological upgrade. It's a fundamental change in how the UK manages immigration. It turns the system into a high-surveillance model where every action is recorded and judged. Migrants will have to be constantly alert, double-checking visa expiry dates, booking return flights with precision, and keeping extensive records of travel. Even those who have lived legally for years could suddenly be caught out by a missed detail. As this system becomes fully operational, thousands may find themselves punished not for major crimes, but for minor missteps, and for many, that one mistake could mean losing everything. As we've seen throughout this video, the landscape of UK immigration is shifting fast, and not in favor of those who've built their lives here. From salary thresholds and language tests to biometric surveillance and shortened renewal deadlines, these changes are not just policies on paper, they are real threats to the futures of millions of people. What makes it even more alarming is that many of these rules are being introduced quietly, with little public debate and almost no warning. If you're not paying attention now, you could be caught off guard when it's already too late. Whether you're a student, skilled worker, family member, or long-term resident, 2026 is shaping up to be a critical turning point. The UK government is tightening control, making it harder not just to enter, but to stay. And while politicians frame these changes as reform, the reality on the ground feels more like removal. It's not just about policy, it's about people, families, and futures being put at risk. Staying informed isn't just smart. It could be the difference between staying and starting over. So if this video opened your eyes to what's really happening, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to know. Because knowledge is the first step in protecting your rights, your family, and your future. We'd love to hear from you. Which of these new rules shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found value in this video, remember, we put a lot of time, research, and care into every upload. So please, support us by hitting that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it means the world to us.